الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور انفسنا ومن سيئات اعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له اشهد ان لا اله الا الله وحده لا شريك له واشهد ان محمدا عبده ورسوله يا ايها الذين امنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم اعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد, we start in the name of Allah the Most High, the one to whom belongs all praise, the one who controls all affairs, the one who gives, the one who takes, glorified and exalted receive. And we send peace and blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and upon his family and his followers until the end of time. Amen. One of the amazing things about the life of the Prophet ﷺ that is a lot more, in some ways, complex than we realize was his ability to build community. And that's really something that's, I think, more and more lost on people. That he ﷺ was able to bring together people from all different backgrounds, all different experiences, to go against different social norms and cultural norms, to adjust them and fix them in ways that they needed to be fixed, and yet keep these people together. And of course, this was the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gave him. But also there is a genius in the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in bringing the people together. And so, when we look at his example in community building, we're reminded that this is something that takes a lot of work. And I think that in a time when we have different types of information readily accessible at our fingertips, and we start to feel like, okay, if I want to hear a good lecture, I can go to this place, or I can listen to so-and-so, or we feel like we can get everything we want externally, we forget that we have to actually invest in each other. And that the community of the believers is a reality that's very important. That we are not meant to live by ourselves. We are not meant to exist as little islands, that come together here and there but don't really actually connect. This is not the way it's supposed to be. And many of the really deeper realities of faith and what it means for human existence and human life, they cannot be realized individually. And this is perhaps one of the wisdoms why the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned in a hadith that al-mu'min alladhi yasbiru ala al-nas wa yasbiru ala adha al-nas wa yukhalifu al-muslimin. This person, the believer who deals with the people and has patience with them and the harm that comes from them, it literally says the harm that comes from them, then that believer is better than the one who doesn't have patience with that and doesn't mix with the believers. Because there's something there. If you really want to learn patience, Allah puts us through all these things in life. They're not meant to be theory. If it was just meant to be theory that we put it in a book somewhere and we leave it, then you wouldn't have the message revealed over 23 years. Part of the wisdom of the message being revealed over 23 years is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is responding to different things as they come up. And He's training the hearts of the believers to learn how to live with one another. And to learn how to deal with the hardships and the pain. Allah could have just revealed the lessons of the Battle of Uhud without the Battle of Uhud having happened, right? But then would the people have understood it? They wouldn't have really understood it. And so when we come together and we deal with one another, we learn the realities of things in a much deeper way. Very similar to family life. Someone might grow up and they come of age and they start to go to college and they get a job and they become a little bit stable and they feel like, okay, this is a good time to get married. And then they get married and they realize that, wow, this is a whole different stage of existence. Now I'm married, everything's different now. And then they get used to being married and then they have children. And children throws you into a whole different thing again. And then the children get older and they start to feel like they're comfortable with the children getting older, and then their parents get older. Each stage you're going into a whole new experience that teaches us the realities of patience, teaches us the realities of caring for others, for loving for people, for understanding our own limitations and moving past them, and all of these type of things, right? And so the Prophet ﷺ, it's narrated, or it's said, that one of the things that he told the people when he came to Medina was the following hadith. And we're going to spend today's khutbah on this hadith. It's a very simple hadith in many ways. It's a very profound hadith. It's not long, like most hadith are not long, which also gives us something to think about, right? The Prophet ﷺ was not, he didn't speak a lot. You know, it wasn't that there were always speeches and lectures and lessons. It's a few words here and there, and that was enough. And the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, they also were not super interested in just talking a lot. They were people of action. And so they would take the right knowledge from the Prophet ﷺ and act upon it, and now you have a consequence. It's not just you keep repeating things over and over and over again. You tell them you shouldn't raise your voice in the presence of the Prophet ﷺ, and Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anh is known to whisper after that whenever he's talking to the Prophet. It means one statement, result. Right? So the Prophet ﷺ would say things, and they understand. They're people, they get it. They understand and they do something about it, and now you have a societal and a civilizational consequence. So one of these early hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said was, he addressed the believers, and he said, Afshu salam. Number one, Afshu salam. I'll translate it. Afshu salam, wa at'imu ta'am, wa silu al-arham, wa sallu al-nasu al-niyam, tadkhulu al-jannata bis-salam. Very, very simple statement. Very powerful, but very simple. He said, number one, spread salam. Number two, feed food. Feed food. Number three, bring your family relations together. Keep your family relations close. Number four, pray in the night when people are sleeping. And then the consequence, you'll enter paradise with peace. Very simple. But look at this hadith. This hadith, he's saying it in the beginning of Medina. It's laying the foundation for the entire societal structure. You have to put a web out, right? You have to put, there's foundations that if they're not there, it's very difficult to do anything. So what is the first one he says? Each of these has multiple dimensions. But if we say, spread salam, and you can take that in two ways, salam as in the saying of salam, or salam as in spreading peace. So we'll start with the saying of salam. We have a lot of emphasis in the teachings of Islam upon the importance of greeting one another. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you are greeted by a greeting, then return with one that is better than it. Right? The Prophet ﷺ said that the person, when the two believers meet one another, the one who says salam first is better than the one that responds to it. Right? You have other hadith about how when the two people, they shake hands and they meet one another and they say salam, then the whole time that they're shaking hands and they're holding each other's hands, sins are falling from them. There's a lot of emphasis on this idea of saying salam to one another. Now this is a very simple thing, right? But think about the societal consequences of this. You can have a society or a community in a micro level, and you can take these things always in a micro level and expand them out into macro levels. Right? So you can have a household where people don't say salam to each other. Someone comes in the home, they don't say salam. Someone leaves the house, they don't say salam. They just come in and out, it's like a hotel. One person comes in, one person comes out, nobody, just very dry household. The relationships are not going to be the same. Part of the sunnah that the Prophet ﷺ taught his companions is that when you enter your home, say salam. And he told one of the companions, when you enter your home, say salam to the people in the home, and it will be a blessing for you and your family. This is active. It's a dua, right? Saying Assalamu alaikum. You're making dua every time you enter your home. And another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ talked about how the one who comes in should say salam, and the one who leaves should say salam. Because the first isn't more important than the second. Right? The going and coming. So now you have a home where that happens, it's one thing. But what about a community? What happens when you have a community of people, and this, we're talking about salam right now, but in the Quran, actually, it's tahiyyah, any sort of greeting. It's interesting. Because we have a more general statement in the Quran. You can have societies that have greetings. Maybe we go into the store You're not just going to say Salaam Alaikum to everyone you walk by in the grocery store. Right? You see someone from the neighborhood, they're not a Muslim, like, Salaam Alaikum. They're going to look at you like you're insane. Right? But you can still greet them. And if they greet you, you can still greet them with a greeting that's better than what they greeted you with. So if you're walking in the store and you see someone and you tell them, hi, how are you? And you started it, you're better than the one who responds. And at least if they start it and they say hello, you can say hello, how are you? You can take it one step further, right? And engage the conversation and ask people how they're doing. It's a very, very simple thing, but think about, again, the consequence on a society. You have a society where you can't speak to one another. It's very cold, very distant, not very fun. You don't really want to deal with people, right? But you have a society where people are accustomed to talking to each other all the time. It's very different. This is one of the things that I used to love about Cairo. In Cairo, you literally talk to anyone you want to at any time. There's no, for the most part, there's always some exceptions, but for the most part, it's open game. And people are very social. We go back and forth. One of the stories I tell all the time, so it was indicative to me of the culture of the people. I was walking down the street, I'm walking on one side of the street, it's a smaller neighborhood street, and there's someone on the other side. And it's like a doorman, one of the people that guards the building and helps the people and so on. And he sneezed, right? So he sneezed and he says, Alhamdulillah. I'm walking on the other side of the street, but I hear him. So I call out to him, I'm like, Yarhamakallah, right? So he hears, he's like, Yahdikum Allah wa yuslihu balakum. Tfaddal, ishrab shay. Like first, immediately. He's like, he responds with the response, like, Allah guide you and rectify your affairs, come and drink tea. Immediately. Like, I don't know this person, I've never seen this person before in my life. But that's the way that, because people are always talking to each other. You see someone sitting on the side of the street, you don't just walk by and don't say anything. Everyone says, Salam, how are you, what's going on, have a little conversation. This is a very foundational fabric of society. Most people probably in the room, even those who are immigrants, have been in the United States for a while, and you probably agree with me that things have changed. People used to talk to each other a lot more. In many neighborhoods probably you still have it, but in a lot of places people used to talk to each other more than they do now. It used to be very common. You just see someone, talk to them. And even different parts of the U.S. are different, so there's subcultures as well. Anyways, this is the first foundation. Spread salam. You take it as a second angle of it, which means spread peace, and you have an even deeper commentary, right? What are the things that are necessary in order to have a community or a society that gets along with one another, that's peaceful? You probably need jobs, you need honesty, you need integrity, you need care for one another, you need decent schools, you need decent homes and buildings, and all of these kind of things that will produce you need a means of communication that are non-violent, right? A lot of times, even though we're not physically violent, our word choice is violent. Like you have a conversation, it escalates super quickly, and it's immediate cut off. You can't actually move forward in the conversation. These are things that are not good. Right? So this is point number one. He said, "Afshu salam," spread salam. Point number two, he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "At'imu ta'am," and feed people. Again, you can take this on an internal level, you can take it on an external level. One of the most important things that we can do as a community is invite each other to our homes and feed each other. And it's not the same as the techno food that we eat when we go outside. One of the shuyukh in America, he called it techno food. Right? It's like you pop it in the microwave, it comes out, it's fast food and stuff. It's very strange food. It's very different than food that someone goes and they pick it out from the store and they invite you to their home and they make the food and they make salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they make dua for it to be blessed. They invite you to their home with love and with care and all of these things and they serve you the food. That's a very different experience. And so one time, like, how can you know our community is actually gelling with one another? It's not in the Friday prayer. Everyone has to be here. It's like, how many of these people in the room actually see each other outside of Friday prayer? Like, have you invited someone to your home? Have you gotten to know them a little bit better? Maybe you don't know them well enough that you want to invite them to your home. Actually, like, I get it. At least go out and eat somewhere decent. And, but share food together. The other side of it is just feeding people that are hungry, which is obviously very clear. And we feed people who are hungry without strings attached. That's Islam. We don't do the whole strings attached. Here's like a little copy of the Quran to remind you who gave this to you in case, that's not the way it goes. We feed you for the sake of Allah, and we're not asking for thanks or reward. This is just what you're supposed to do. Shaykh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, he said, فَتَّشْتُ الْأَعْمَالِ كُلَّهَا فَمَا وَجَدْتُ أَفْضَلَ مِنْ إِطْعَامِ الطَّعَامِ أَوَدُّ لَوْ أَنَّ الدُّنْيَا بِيَدِي فَأُطْعِمُهُ الْجِيَاعِ. He said, I searched the deeds of Islam, all of them. I searched all of the deeds, and I didn't find anything that was better than feeding people. I wish that the entire world was in my hand so that I could feed it to the people who are hungry. Radiallahu. So the great sunnah of Islam is to do that. And this gave birth to amazing things. Like in the subcontinent, I forget what they're called right now, but you have this tradition of mess halls, big, huge cafeterias that feed anyone that comes. Every day. Anyone who comes. Muslim, non-Muslim, whatever. Hungry, not hungry, rich, poor. If you come, you get food. It'll be decent food. That's a beautiful tradition. So where's the effort then to feed people? And there's people who need food. And if they don't need, maybe they're getting by, but the food they're eating is nasty. And we have a horrible epidemic in Southern California, in America in general, which is called grass. People probably think I'm joking. We have an epidemic, or maybe they're not listening. We have a horrible epidemic in America that's called grass. All of these people with all of these lawns that are completely useless. Like, what is the lawn really for? Just think about it for a few seconds. Some grass, you have to give it water all the time. You have to give it fertilizer all the time. You have to spend all this effort in it, and it literally gives you nothing, other than your neighbors might be happy. Right? But it's a lot of land. And then you have homes, people who decided to use their homes to grow food. Like there's a home in Pasadena, some people probably are familiar with it. They grow 6,000 pounds of produce a year in their yard. It's not a huge house. It's like a regular Pasadena home, probably 5,000 to 6,000 square feet, something like that. 6,000 pounds of food every year. For what? People are hungry. Okay, let me grow a little something in my yard and give it to people. And maybe in the community you have one person who grows oranges and they always are going to have extra. And you have another person who grows guavas and they're always going to have extra. And the other person grows figs and they're always going to have extra. So what do? Bring it all together. So now I get my figs from this person, I get my guavas from this person, I get my avocados from this person, I get my kale from this person. All of it is all just land not being used. And then we get reminders too of the reality of the spiritual life. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the analogy of vegetation so many times in the Quran. So many times in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When you see earth and it looks dead and you bring it back to life and then things grow from it, it's amazing. Right? This is also the spiritual thing, which needs a little bit of care. The potential is there. It needs a little bit of care. And it starts to produce food. It starts to give back rather than being predatory. So feeding food then is another one. Ta'amu ta'am. And then again, what does that do to the social fabric? Then he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wasilu al-arham. Wasilu al-arham. Keep these family relationships together. All of these things that he's saying, these three, all of them are huge nets that hold society. Right? Think about it. They're all nets. Like if you think about someone who's walking on a trapeze line, they're walking on a tightrope, and you have that net underneath. But they can walk on that tightrope and they can feel like, okay, it's all good. I can do this. I can take this risk, I can make this effort, I can try to attain this goal, because I know when I fall, I'm going to fall in the net. All of these things are nets that are underneath. You take care of the family structure. What does the family structure do? What happens when the families fall apart? What happens when young people don't respect their elders? What happens when elders don't have wisdom? They don't give back and have concern for the generations that come after them. All of these things are extremely important. And so the Prophet ﷺ is laying that foundation, and in the second half we'll just summarize it up, inshallah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بعد we have some announcements and then we'll conclude inshallah. Tonight at the masjid on 7060 Owens Mouth there's a family night with myself followed by a potluck starting at 7 p.m. Tomorrow morning we continue our study circle at 7:30 a.m. and we'll be continuing the beginning of guidance by Imam Ghazali. Everyone is welcome. The spring semester for the youth group starts this coming Sunday at 11 a.m. And please stay after prayer for an appeal from Brother Nauman from the board of the masjid about the fundraiser that's coming up. Please stay for that. You know, like we're talking about community, it requires everyone together. And things don't build themselves. So please stay for that. And don't forget to generously donate. Also, please make dua for Sister Sabira Khatam who passed away last week, the grandmother of Brother Tanvir. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive her for shortcomings and give her the best reward. So when we looked at this, we're looking at this hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and its role for community building, just as a reminder for anyone who came late, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, spread salam and feed food, bring your family relations together, and pray in the night when people are sleeping, and you'll enter paradise with peace. So the fourth one that we're on is pray in the night when people are sleeping. Sallu an-nas in the end. Pray when people are sleeping. It's a very interesting description. It's a very interesting description. And obviously we know from different sources and stuff the importance of prayer in the night and everything else. But part of this, I think, is that when you and then of course he concludes with you enter paradise in peace. These are the things you do, you enter paradise in peace. One of the things that I think about in relation to this particular structure of this hadith, as well as different also other statements that are in our textual sources, is that when we're talking about communal benefits, we're talking about community life, talking about Islam as something that is meant to have a good impact beyond just ourselves, you know, the proof is in the pudding, so to speak, or actions speak louder than words. And if you go to someone and you tell them, yeah, I pray in the night every night, and you're like, oh, that's great. If they don't care for that, well, obviously if they care for praying in the night, they're going to be happy for you, right? But if they're like just a general, everyday, regular person, okay, cool. It's a big deal. But if you tell them, I spread peace when I go out and I talk to people and I build relationships and I take care of my family and I give food to the people who are hungry, they'll be like, oh yeah, I see your benefit. Right? I see, and now I understand what the benefit is. Very tangible. And yeah, you're going to pray in the night. That's what's going to keep you going. Right? That's what's going to keep you going. But that should mean that you're going. And you're giving something back. And there's some tangible consequence. Right? People will say, oh, these people who come together in this mosque and they pray all the time, I see why that matters to the rest of us. Right? That's also part of Islam. There's the internal side, but there's also the external side. People should be able to say, oh, okay, I get it. That's why this is important. I see. I see the way that you deal with your family. I see the way that you take care of your children. I see the way that you deal with the poor. I see the way that you give to people. That should all be very tangible and very there in front of the people. So the Prophet ﷺ is laying out this entire framework. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from those who are able to live by it. Inshallah. And oh Allah, forgive us of our sins and our shortcomings, accept us our deeds, enter us into paradise and keep us away from your punishment. Give us the good of this life and the next. Give us knowledge that benefits us and benefit us from that which you have taught us. Give food to those who are hungry. Give shelter to those who are shelterless. Give victory to those who are oppressed. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا. اللهم بارك فينا وبيننا وألف بين قلوبنا وصفوفنا. اللهم كن معنا ولا تكن علينا. انصر إخواننا المستضعفين في كل مكان. افتح علينا فتح العليم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا صالحا. اللهم تقبل منا واعف عنا وآتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وأقيموا الصلاة.